Welcome to Nifty Novelist. And today we'll be discussing the third writing element out of the four writing elements of action, description, dialogue, and narration. And it's dialogue that we'll be discussing today. Now let's all have a chat with each other about dialogue. What is the definition of dialogue? Dialogue is at least two or more different individual characters talking back and forth out loud with each other. Many authors will tell you that every single line of dialogue in your whole entire book absolutely has to always be meaningful and always relevant, and that it absolutely has to always advance the plot of your book, or else it should not be included in your book at all. In fact, all throughout my own whole entire 25 plus year career as a creative fiction writer, I have personally encountered literally dozens of people who have emphatically insisted that every single line of every single one of my characters that's spoken in my books absolutely has to be meaningful and relevant and must always advance the plot of the book. However, this is wrong, completely and totally 100% wrong. Because consider this Chinese proverb: if 1,000 people say something foolish, it is still foolish. Idle chit-chat that goes on between two or more of your book's characters may seem first to be initially totally insignificant, but this is not necessarily automatically the case. As Odysseus Laertius once said, you'll come to learn a great deal if you study the insignificant in depth. The thing about idle chit-chat is that it adds to the sense of realism and authenticity and legitimacy, not only of all of your own book's fictional characters, but also all of your own book's scenes, and also to your entire book as an overall whole as well. This is because such dialogue very often exactly mirrors the reality of how two or more real people also talk back and forth out loud with each other in real life as well. Think about it. Not every single spoken conversation in real life that's spoken between two or more people always leads all or even any of those people in any sort of clear, distinct, logical, fruitful, and productive direction each and every single time, without fail and without question. And so, therefore, neither should all of your own fictional dialogue in all of your own books do so either, or else your own real-life readers will not ever find this to be an accurate portrayal of a real-life spoken conversation. However, although meaningless dialogue can indeed appear in all of your books, still at the same time, you should never drastically overuse it for way too long. Keep in mind that eventually, at some point, the spoken dialogue between your characters will indeed actually have to take both your own fictional characters and also your own real-life readers in some sort of coherent, progressive, decisive, and forward direction in order to keep the plot advancing, and in order to keep all of your own real-life readers still perpetually interested in all of them finding out exactly what will happen next. Now let's talk about dialogue, shall we? What exactly are dialogue tags? Dialogue tags are the speaker identifiers that come immediately after the ending quotation marks of each character's spoken line of dialogue each time that they finish speaking, and they are what always help your own readers clearly identify and clearly remember just who exactly is speaking out loud to whom, so that they do not get totally confused as to exactly who is speaking or exactly who is listening, or exactly what is being said, or even if anything is being said at all, or if it's just narration. For example, when the words "he said," or "she replied," or "Fred answered," or "Jane yelled," those are all examples of dialogue tags. You should use dialogue tags every once in a while, but use them sparingly and use them intelligently also as well. If you use dialogue tags every single spoken line of dialogue in your own book, then this will very rapidly tire your own readers out, and they will very soon stop reading your own book because they will find this to be really annoying to them, and it will clog up the progress of your own book's plot with too many dialogue tags all the time after every single sentence, and it will weigh it down, and it will make it too clunky sounding. Instead of you writing this brief exchange of two-person dialogue that I'll read now, "I want to go to the store," Jack said. "Okay," Sally replied. "I will buy some milk," Jack said. "No, I don't like milk," Rebecca protested. "You should write the same thing, but in a slightly different but also much less clunky way. Try writing something like this instead. I want to go to the store." Jack headed towards the front door to leave the house. "Okay," Sally sat down on the couch, too tired to go along with him. "I will buy some milk." Jack briefly glanced over at the totally empty milk jug, resting on the very top of the rest of the trash within the trash's completely full wastebasket. "No, I don't like milk." Rebecca made a disgusted face at the mere thought of her ever having to drink yet another full jug of milk. You see, that's a way to show the readers who's speaking without telling them each time "he said," "she said," "he said," "she said" over and over and over again, because that gets too annoying and too clunky. However, never go on for way too long in your book without you ever letting all of your own readers clearly know and clearly recall just exactly which one of your characters is speaking to another one at any given point in time. This will quickly lead to way too much mental confusion, and your own readers will very soon totally give up on them trying to read your book anymore because they cannot tell who is doing the speaking. And for example, in Hubert Selby Jr.'s own novel titled Requiem for a Dream, upon which the very famous film of the exact same name was also based, there are literally absolutely no dialogue tags that ever appear anywhere at all whatsoever, even just one single time in the whole entire novel. If you ever watched a movie adaptation of this same novel, you can always very quickly, very easily, and very clearly identify just exactly who is talking to whom every single time anyone says anything to anyone else at any point in time in the film, because you can literally clearly visibly see all of the real life actors as they're talking out loud to each other. However, if you ever try to read the actual written novel that this author has written, you will most assuredly indeed find it to be literally impossible for you to ever clearly identify just exactly who is doing the talking and just exactly whom he or she is talking to, or even whether or not he or she is talking with anyone else out loud at all. Or instead, if it is simply just one single character silently and privately thinking something to himself or to herself in their own thoughts within their own heads, because there are also literally no quotation marks at all whatsoever anywhere within the whole entire novel that Hubert Selby Jr. has written that would normally ever help you to instantly distinguish between whether or not a character is speaking out loud at all, or instead if it is the author himself that is simply narrating the scene in an unintentionally like non-verbal way where it's not really anybody talking, it's just like the author saying this is what's happening throughout the scene. And without quotation marks you won't be able to tell the difference between those two things. And this is most surely something that I myself, as a creative fiction writer, would literally never, ever, ever personally recommend that any of you as writers should ever even attempt to do. That is today's writing tip on Dialog. Thank you for watching, and have a very jolly day, everybody.